Dude and Grim Show presents Scratch a Track,
the podcast where we debate which track to scratch off some of the most known and unknown albums of all time.
We live in an era of singles.
This is an album.
People no longer listen to an album for the work it truly is.
It kind of defines a band.
It's just not something that people relate to nowadays.
We've all gotten the dreaded.
It started out as a game.
Which track on the album would you scratch out if you had to? Hey everyone, welcome back to another exciting episode of the Scratch a Track podcast presented by the Dude and Grim Show. I'm the Dude, in case you didn't know.
And I'm Grim. And today...
But you already know.
Yeah, hopefully by now. And today we are going to talk about a little album called Fetch the Bolt Cutters by Fiona Apple.
By Fiona Apple. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's, and before we actually get into it, I do want to send out a friendly. It's real friendly. It's not forceful by any means, but just do it. Click like, click subscribe, click follow, whatever you're listening or viewing us on, just do it. Okay.
And more of it and spread it. Spread the word.
Trust me, it's gonna be worth your while someday. When we go public, we'll remember you people.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It will not go unsung.
No. So anyway, Fetch the Bolt Cutters, Fiona Apple. I must fully admit, dude, the only thing I had really known or heard of Fiona Apple's before this was Criminal and obviously the video by Mark Harmonic. But that I hadn't been familiar with. I can't even say anything else on that album, let alone any of her other work. And I'm not sure why I haven't explored it. I just haven't.
Well, I hadn't really either, to be fair. I didn't realize that this was her fifth album. And she hadn't released anything since 2012, which was like this really long title, like the Idler Wheel.
Idler Wheel. It's a very long hiatus.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, as you read about her, she's kind of been sporadic in what she does and how she does it, but always, you know, kept her career in music. And since getting into this album, I did listen to her previous releases, and they're really good. Albeit a little more polished, which was one of the things that came up about this album, is that people thought it was a little unpolished, a
little raw, like life.
But I like that about it, and I like that she had this kind of DIY attitude and just did it her way, kind of like I did with my recent haircut. I pretty much just went the punk rock route and just cut it, and you really hope for the best.
Yeah,
and she
still pay for mine.
So funny. So I hoped for the best. She got the best because according to what everyone has said, or not everyone, but a lot of critics and fans in general, a lot of people are regarding this immediately upon its release as her best work to date.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It has been critically acclaimed. It came out during this whole fun pandemic time that we've been in. And interestingly enough, as you and I are sitting here recording this, it's only been out for 4 months.
And we're still in the pandemic.
Yeah.
Actually, let's just clarify. The whole podcast has started and kept going throughout this time period. So,
yes.
And that's one thing I thought was cool about it, is I'm sure that there's been more things that have come out since. But this was the first album, at least that I was aware of, that had been released during the pandemic. And kind of a double shout out. My wife, Lisa, was really the one who started playing this around the house. And that immediately sparked my interest in it. And our Gorman, our good friend, he actually sent me a text about it too, and he said, "I just heard this single off of the new Fiona Apple record. You really need to listen to it."
Sweet.
But before I could even do that, Lisa had already put it on, and to me, I immediately loved it. I probably spent like a month where I listened to this thing like every day,
Wow.
And yeah,
Very cool.
I've really been fascinated with it just because of not only that I really like the music a lot, but her approach to it I thought was really cool because I don't know, it reminded me of the way that I would make my own music, where it was just like you don't for me, you didn't have the luxury of like going to a studio or any financial backing, so you just made it in your house, which is with the exception of a few bits, precisely what she did.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because they tried to go to the studio route, and I guess so. She recorded this over a period of like 5 years, and so her and her bandmates, they went to this studio called Sonic Ranch Studio in Texas, and they recorded there for about 3 weeks. But apparently, the sessions weren't overly productive because they spent most of the time taking mushrooms and watching movies. So I can fully understand that kind of delaying the process.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah. Sure.
You know, so
because you're talking like a 4 hour I mean, depending on like the type of mushroom and the potency. Yeah. I mean, you're talking a good 4 hour block of like, it's probably not worth it to like put whatever we're going to do right at this moment on tape.
Yeah. Well, and I have a feeling they weren't microdosing.
Yeah.
You know, that's become, I know that's a big thing now, which is, I think for you and I, a strange concept, but
if you're going to do it, you go all in. Yeah. I mean,
go all in.
Yeah. You take the whole thing and just somebody's got to drive and you just kind of cross your fingers and throw some fireworks out the window and roll with it.
Stay in between the lines, and that's why you use cruise control. I mean, not that we're advocating for people to do that.
And just remember, you think everybody knows, but they don't know unless you tell them with those eyes. Anyways.
Exactly. Yes. But so that didn't really work out. I think they went to back to LA and they tried to record there. That didn't really work out. And then Fiona, she wanted to take it home. She wanted to take it to what she called, her house, because it was the womb of where she developed as an adult.
Which I think is really cool.
It's really cool. She wanted to repay the house, and she felt like the house itself was actually an instrument on the album. It was like the microphone. So that's a cool concept. If you do have a close connection to your house, I mean, maybe she's been there since Criminal. I mean, who knows? So.
Well, and the thing is, whether it's an instrument or not, it's certainly a distinct space. Just like people would say about a given studio has this room that has a sound. And I feel like that really comes through in especially the percussion tracks in the album, which we'll get to. But I mean, they did what did she call these, like percussive orchestras, where they would just kind of walk through the house with various things, including, dude, and I'll let you take this one.
Okay.
Her dead dog.
Oh, what? Yes. Sorry. Yes. For some reason, she has one of her deceased dog's bones, and they use that or them as some kind of percussion to sound. I've heard of people, and I believe my parents have one of our dogs cremated. That's a thing. But I have yet to hear someone be like, "Hey, I have my dog's bones."
Yeah.
Like, how does that?
I don't know. That's trippy, and maybe it had something to do with the like this spiritual awakening retreat that's mentioned here at some point, or the magic mushrooms.
Possible.
Anyways, it's there, but I like how they use the percussion as like this space. And it reminds me of this band more when they did that at the beginning of Sunrise, where they actually mic'd it in a circle and walked around in the Florida jungle and recorded their percussion.
And that is on videotape.
Yeah, and recording. Now we'll get to this in songs of the same name, but for right now, it's like they were influenced by this album before it even came out. I mean, just kind of, like.
Yeah. Well, Graham, there's something I kind of want to talk a little bit about, and I don't want to divert too far from the album, but it's something you and I have talked about online, and you brought it up with people's thoughts about this album, you know, having more of a raw feel, not as polished, not as studio.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how that has kind of become sort of a standard for music. Everything has to sound so fresh and so crisp and so clean. And, you know, even, you know, some of our favorite bands who have gone into the studio and they add peaking and distortion and things like that. But this is, you know, I think you said she recorded the majority of this on GarageBand, didn't even really know how to use it, which is awesome. Right. But in one of the things that I think we talked about online, it's like, when did everything have to become so clean and polished? Because one of the, I mentioned to you, Annie Leibovitz, who's a very well-known photographer. I took her masterclass and she asked that question from a photography perspective of, you know, at what point did every pixel have to be so crisp and so sharp and just everything's so defined? And the only way I would really answer that is probably when things moved from analog to digital, because you could do 1,000 takes and get everything just so perfect, right? And same with digital photography, right? I mean, is that, what do you say there, Trim?
A couple things. In the limited amount that I do, and I'm going to pull the camera up here, as you look around here, there's a lot of instruments, and a lot of these are really old instruments, and they have a distinct sound. And what I find is that what makes them so special is the imperfections. Just like she was saying, there's little imperfections with all of them, and it makes it special. It makes it, because not everything is crystal clear. They all have like little glitches, you know, like an old Nintendo game where there's like a glitch. Like, they all have these little glitches. And that's what I love about this, is it has these little glitches, but it makes it special. And if you want to talk about the whole bit of perfection in terms of music, I haven't like researched this. I'm no expert, but as I listen to music through the years, there are two bands that come out to me, and it's Fleetwood Mac and it's Boston. Because if you listen to both of those bands, like some of Fleetwood Mac's recordings were like, I don't know how the fuck they did that at that time. I mean, it's so crisp. There's like no tape noise. I mean, it's perfect. And Boston did a good job at the same thing. I mean, it's just so full, and there's no, like I said, there's no fuck ups. There's no anything. But at the same time, it's so perfect that it kind of loses, in a way, like credibility. Like, think about when we did Are You Experienced? Think about all the imperfections in the recording process that you could hear in that album, but it didn't matter because it was so good. And that's how I feel about this album, is like, you know, she said she didn't know how to edit takes in GarageBand, so she had to do takes all the way through, and they walked around the house and did percussion. But that's the sound, and it's real and it's raw, and that to me is what makes it.
Yeah, and I mean, even there's even in some of the tracks you can hear dogs barking in the middle of the song, and there's just, I mean, I was going to say before that there's some authenticity to it, but there's some real authenticity to that. Oh yeah, because you're you know in your head that you're recording and you're like, God damn it, but you just let it roll, and if the take's good, the take's good. Right. I just wanted to talk about that a little bit because it is one of those things where I'm sure there are people out there where they would criticize it for that and say, well, you know, I don't know if I like it. And I can certainly understand that, because our ears and eyes, depending on what medium you're talking about, we've become so used to kind of the perfection. I mean, we have our, 4K TVs.
And that was the thing you brought up when we talked about it. You were like, I feel like from the visual perspective, HD is what did it.
It really did.
And I don't know what the advent of it was for music, but I'll tell you, once things moved from like 8-track to 16-track to 24-track 2-inch tape in these immaculately constructed studios with, you know, really good engineers, everything became perfect. And now in the digital world, I mean, Christ, you can pitch perfect. I mean, all these pitch correction, and it's right. Yeah.
Well, then you take that one step further. That's just, you know, that's kind of all in production and studio. But then for us, the consumer, the listener, you go from, you know, and I recently just picked up Bitches Brew and Exile on Main Street, both phenomenal albums on,
but not
on
perfect. By no means perfect. Which is what I love about them.
Right. But the thing is you listen. I've always listened to them on CD or digitally on my computer, and then I put the needle down and I'm listening, and there it's a completely different sound. And there's almost in a certain way, there's certain sounds that I feel like I can't hear as clearly, or but that could also be, you know, the speakers and the LP player that I have. I mean, there's so many things I think go into it as well. So,
well, yeah. And you will find that, mastering music for vinyl is very different than like mastering it for really any other format, because vinyl requires a physical connection of the needle and the groove, and there's only so much that the fucking needle can handle.
Right.
You know? And so people have to you kind of have to make sacrifices and make compromises when you do that. For that reason.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I mean, even going from, you know, and from a photography perspective, you know, with you know, a digital camera, you got your little memory card or you got your phone and everything. But, you know, from when you have to shoot back in the day, you know, some people could say, but both you and I know there is no film in this camera.
Yeah.
Just working in Little Wayne's World. Wow. Right, Jill? Okay.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So anyways, I needed to get it in there.
Yeah. So we digress seriously, but I think the nuts and bolts of it are, wow, that was not on purpose, but the nuts and bolts of it are that I think that's what a lot of people found really great. I would hope that's what a lot of people found really great about this, is that it was like a more honest interpretation of just getting something down, and it doesn't make it any less listenable. It doesn't make it, in a way, it makes it definitely more classic or more, you know. And to me, the way the percussion, and I know this is cited in some of the stuff you can research, but it reminds me a lot of some of Tom Waits stuff, where he has this really ambient percussion that like makes the song, but it's not clean. It's ugly, and it's far away, and it's in a fucked up room or whatever it is.
Well, and for me, just not being a musician and just more of a listener, I just found it. I mean, the two things that really stand out are the percussion and how it's always different all over the place. The bass, which I think you said, I mean, I listened to it in my car, man, and the bass is thick. And I think you said you use a lot of stand up for this,
I
right?
believe it's a double bass stand up. Yeah.
But also the tempos, man, and the way the tempo just changes and just fluctuates. It seems like it's some sort of free form jazz odyssey, or you know, but it does seem very loose, and she could take it anywhere at any time. So I feel like it almost kind of keeps you on your toes a little bit. You kind of don't know what's going to be around the next corner. So
well, and I agree with that, because it took me several listens to really remember what to know what was coming or what to expect, if that makes sense.
Right.
Which I like that about it. I mean, you know, initially with the first, I'm going to say 6-7 songs, I really liked what I heard. And then it was like I had to explore, like, let's say, the back half of it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I gotcha. And I think you have some information about just kind of the title, like where that sort of
Oh yeah, well yeah. Apparently, there's a British British Irish like crime drama show called The Fall, and Gillian Anderson being the main character in it. I guess it was something about somebody was like tortured or imprisoned, and her line was fetch the, like, we're gonna bust her out of here. And yeah, as it reads, she read that, and that really resonated with her, out of like some sort of personal cage that you put yourself in based on wherever you're at in your life, which I thought was really interesting. And then again, being released during the pandemic, where a lot of people are shut in and kind of feel isolated. That's why I think that the release of it could not have been at a better time.
Yeah. There's definitely that. It has that feel. She's very open. This is a very open, kind of biographical, reflection of herself. And a lot of it is just the personal relationships, whether it's friends or people she's dated, and things throughout her, throughout her life. So it's definitely, you can tell it comes from a deep place.
But I feel like the lyrics on the title track say it all. Fetch the bolt cutters. I've been in here too long. Like,
fetch them.
Whatever happens.
Exactly.
Whatever happens.
That's right.
But the other thing about it that's interesting, and I don't have this on vinyl, although I would like to in the very near future, is that she made a point to say in an interview that she talked about it being because people don't think about like the land in the United States. They think of it as just like ours because we live here. But she made a point to say that
this land is your land. This land is my land.
Yeah, that it was recorded on these unceded Native American lands of like what, the Tongva, the Mescalero Apache, and the Suma. And so like, okay. And I think that's interesting. And there's an interview on YouTube where she really goes into a lot more detail about that. But it's kind of cool because I don't think a lot of people think about that stuff now. It's just assume that this is,
we earned it.
Yeah.
We earned it.
Honky lands.
Yeah. We didn't. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
All right, so I think it's about time we get into this one, homie.
Yeah.
What do you say?
Yeah, I agree.
All right. So, first track, "I Want You to Love Me." I love the way this album starts. I love the way this song starts. It's kind of got this weird little beat and percussion, and then that piano comes in.
Yeah.
It's so elegant and dreamy.
I know.
So
and
good,
I think
man.
she used, like, for those little bits of percussion and like the cheesy drums, it says that she actually used a freaking like a Casio beat, just like a little snippet of it, which I think is great, because anyone who has a Casio keyboard, I mean, those beats are like, I don't know, your childhood or adulthood.
Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah.
Depends how you want to live your life. But I also find that the song it is kind of it's very upbeat. It kind of has hope and she's kind of almost like telling you, like, essentially what she wants. But I love the way she sings it, like kind of like her cadence. I feel like she's like hopping around, like it's ding ding.
And there's that chord change that really gets to me, that I believe goes from a minor chord with a major sixth on top into the seventh, that I can't get enough of that chord change. Yeah. And that same kind of chord change or the same feel goes right into on Shamika. Because if you listen to the two, it's almost like you feel like there's a similarity there. And I think it's that same kind of chord change.
Okay. I gotcha. Well, before we move on to Shamika, first of all, my favorite line from this song, and it's probably the most prevalent, is, "And while I'm in this body, I want somebody to want. I want what I want, and I want."
Yeah, I know.
So it's just pretty cool. Now, there's no way we can get past this song without talking about
I know
the ending,
the Yoko Ono ending.
the Yoko Ono ending. And if anybody has heard, I mean, I think, I don't know if it was, I mean, she's come out with her own albums, but I think she's sang on, I don't know if you call it singing, whatever you want to call it, on some of John Lennon's stuff as well. There is a part where she gets a little, I don't even know how to describe it. I want to say screaming, but I don't know if that's the right way to do it.
It's like using your voice as an instrument. And I'm not saying that it's my favorite, because it certainly struck me a little bit when I first heard it. But like, but as a point of argument, nobody says things if somebody just makes a bunch of shit noises on the guitar or the synthesizer. Like, that's okay, but I know it does strike you, and it struck me too.
It stands out like a sore thumb. And if you listen to this, like if you've never heard it and you guys listen to it, like you can't miss it. All right.
Yeah.
Like you'll be like, oh shit, I wasn't expecting that. So,
yeah.
So for me personally, I love the song up until that point. It kind of takes me out of the song a little bit, but that's just me. That's just me. Fair. I'm not, I'm not going to scratch it for that reason, but it's, I will say that, anyways. So we move on to our girl Shamika.
That was the first song I heard off this album, actually, on the local like independent radio station. I heard that and I was like, man, this is fucking sweet. Like, I really like it.
Has potential.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting though. It's about being bullied.
Yeah, pretty much. It's about being bullied, and she also tells a story that basically she takes it from her childhood when she was in middle school, and I think Fiona Apple, she wanted to be a part of the popular crowd, and they kind of, didn't accept her or anything. And this girl Shamika basically says, why are you trying to be with those girls? You have so much potential.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a very, for a middle school student to say that to another student, it's a very astute thing to say.
Yeah.
But it's, it was cool. And I think we've all maybe sort of been in that. But it is interesting that, the song itself, it really moves, and I feel like she kind of almost raps the words a little bit, the way she sings them. I found it hard to just hear, like, it was one of those songs where you hear it, if you were to hear it, someone presented it to you, like, how could you not like that? Yeah.
It was just really, really great.
Yeah. And this is one of those songs, I think, where the tempos kind of get all over the place, and it's almost chaotic at points, but at the same time, it still maintains like coherence.
Yeah.
It doesn't, it's not too out there where I'm like, okay, next, like it doesn't bother me that much, but I do notice it.
Yeah. And this is subtle for me, but like the musician nerd part, when, she has those big, Shamika said I have potential, right? There's times where she hits them just right on the beat, and it's just bump, bump, bump. And other times she kind of like plays with the rhythm on the piano a little bit and like bounces a little bit with it. And I don't know if that's an overdub or is just how she played it, but that always, there's something about that I really gravitated toward immediately.
Stansford. Yeah. Well, then we move on to track 3, the self-titled track, Fetch the Bolt Cutters. Yeah.
And honestly, I feel like a lot of what comes up lyrically in this track is like a carryover from Shamika, because she says something about I let it get done to me. They stole my fun.
Yeah. And it is really what this song is about, is someone realizing what's going on in their life, taking control and being like, this is, I'm getting out of this spot. I'm done here. And that's something I think a lot of us can really, relate to, whether it's, kind of, you're just done with a relationship or a job, a living situation, the city you're living in. You're just like, man, I just need to be freed. I'm done. Start over, clean slate. I'm done. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
but I really, I like the feel of this song a lot.
Totally.
I just see the stand-up bass is really prevalent, and it's really good.
and the dogs. This
yeah,
is the song
the
where
dogs.
the dogs are like,
yeah.
the dogs are barking. I mean, and that's the thing. At the end, I believe this is a song where they have all the dogs like kind of barking at the end too, right? Because I think you hear the dogs maybe even a few times in the album, but you do hear them just like in the middle of the song. Like it's just they're just kind of there and a part of it. And that's pretty cool. So
yeah. Relay Under the Table. Yes. Under the Table. Now
it's a good story song, man.
It is. And I feel like I could see some people interpreting this as like a feminist thing, but I really don't think it is. In my mind, this is like a relationship thing, and it could go either way because it's like, you know, somebody just wants you to like be quiet and keep the peace, and there's something you hear that you are like, fuck that. I'm saying what I'm going to say, and I love that about it. Yeah. Love that about it.
No, I love it too. And she kind of tells that, I mean, this is like a true story where she was at a dinner and she realized she called out somebody at the dinner table. It wasn't like a one-on-one thing. It seemed like it was a big kind of group dinner. She kind of called somebody out and it got real awkward and everybody was like,
and I like that. I mean, I just, there's everything about it that I really like the whole sentiment of it.
Well, and the lyrics I feel are very strong and tell a strong story, but musically it's got a slower tempo, but each instrument I feel like really hits. Yeah, like they just really do. And at some point I swear there was some kind of, I don't know if it was like I don't know if it's a synth in the background or there's like kind of like this little accordion sound. There was something.
I know what you're talking about.
I didn't know what that was.
I can't piece it together myself, but yeah, it does kind of have that, whatever that is, it's there, and I really appreciate it. You know what I mean? It's real nice. Real nice.
Really nice. Really nice. Really nice. So
but relay.
We move on.
It's kind of like, it's not a musical round, or do they go into a round at some point? But I just, that kind of repeating phrase back and forth, which I think is kind of fun.
Yeah, it does have that. And it's one of those things where she seems pretty upset about what was going on, but she's also actually taking the high road. So kind of a little different than Under the Table where she's calling somebody out. But it's like she's too smart. She knows what's going on because she says the lyrics and I see you keep trying to bait me. And I'd love to get up in your face, but it's like, but she doesn't.
But what does she say? But by hating you, I will have entered this endless race. Like that's really, I like that.
Well, and I just found the way she sings it, the way she sings it sounds a lot like that. It's like a Cole Porter song, and I don't know who sings it, but in olden days, a glimpse of stocking was looked on something shocking. Anything goes.
Oh, like, anything goes.
Yeah. Anything goes. Like so, like there was something. The way she sings this song reminds me of that.
Oh, that's interesting. That's a good pull.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, that's a good pull. That's a real good pull.
I had to do some reach on that one.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. That's a good pull, though.
It was a relay. So
yeah.
All right, then we move on to the next song, and this is one of my favorite songs on the album, Rack of his. Mm-hmm. I just love the intro. It's so unique the way that I don't know, it's a synth or keyboard or whatever it is, or it has some kind of bell sound or whatever it is. It's really so unique.
Dark and yeah.
Well, and I pulled a similarity and it was weird because when I heard it, it made me think of this. And then I listened to it at the end of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is Quentin Tarantino's newest film. At kind of towards the end, it's basically right at the end. I won't give any spoilers, but when they're ending the film and the title comes up and everything, it's very similar to that. At least there was something my ear caught and I was like, okay, all right, I can.
Well, you played it for me, and I heard it.
Yeah,
you can definitely hear it.
There was something there. Yeah. Well, it's interesting too because that obviously that's a Tarantino movie. Him and Paul Thomas Anderson are like good buddies, and she used to date Paul Thomas Anderson, like when he was doing Magnolia. But I don't think that ended on the best of terms, because then she came out a few months ago and told this story about how Paul Thomas Anderson and Quentin Tarantino were just getting really fucked up on blow one night and acting like wild and crazy. So wow. I have a feeling that if they were friends before that, you know, they may not be now. So
I think I saw that too, and she was like, "That's when I quit cocaine."
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, it's time to go.
Yeah. Well,
it's time to go.
Okay.
Before this shit turns into Scarface. Okay.
Yeah. Newspaper.
Right. You want to get newspaper?
Yeah.
So, rumor has it this is was inspired by two different relationships.
Yeah.
And I think it starts with some more dog barking too, if I remember correctly.
that does sound correct. And of course I wish we could play this. Thank you, record companies, for not making that a possibility. But with that said, yeah, I believe so, because the story's like similar, but there's kind of.
Yeah, one thing she kind of says or seems to allude to is it's kind of about, you know, maybe there seems to be two women. She's one of them, and then there's a man. Now I don't know. She's with them, or that's like her boyfriend, but she's also attracted. He's also attracted to her.
And she can see it happening.
Yeah. And then her friend, and then maybe he leaves her and goes with the friend and tries to kind of say stuff about her a little bit.
Well, yeah, so that we'll never be friends.
To keep them apart. Yeah. So, dude, men are horrible.
Yeah, we are. But on a more positive note, ladies, which I believe, ladies.
Yeah,
I do enjoy how she just kind of like,
dude, it's like her version of Jay-Z's girls.
Yeah. Well, they're more dignified. Yeah.
A little bit. Yeah, definitely.
But it's so funny that that the music was by two of her other bandmates. And I believe, if I read this correctly, this was one of the only ones that was primarily done in a studio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And one of the first ones that was done, but I think it's a really good song for what it, you know, for what it's saying.
Sure.
I want to say the line is without, and I don't have the lyrics in front of me, but it's basically saying that, like, you're another, the crux of it is that you're another amazing woman out there that's going to be like overlooked or something like that.
Right.
And I just, it's sad and true, but really well said.
Yeah. And I really like the way, it seemed to me that, or it felt like the song is maybe a little, you know, stripped down.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a lot musically that overly stands out, but her vocals, there's many layers of vocals. I found her she's singing, but then she does some like almost two different harmonies in the background as well that I kind of noticed that were very different.
There's that on a lot of songs. Really she does some really good stuff with the harmonies, but I like this one. This one to me has like just a little more soul to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just kind of has a little soul.
It does. It does.
And then you kind of
get to
darken things up.
Yeah, we definitely darken things up with Heavy Balloon, and it's a heavy song. You know, it explores depression. Mm-hmm. And I think she was quoted as saying that, you know, the way that depressed people can start to treat their depression, you know, almost like a friend or like a plaything.
Yeah, because it's something they're used to.
Yeah, she says it's almost like you get Stockholm syndrome with your own depression.
Yeah,
like you're kidnapped by your own depression, and I can see. I mean, that's you know, it seems very debilitating.
Well, what does she say? I've been like what is the line? I've been like taking it in so long, I'm busting at the seams. Yeah,
well, she says that right after. I think she says I spread like strawberries, I climb like peas and beans, and you can tell there's a lot of, I don't know if I would say rage, but there's something she just
heavy
wants
emotion,
to get out. It's musically the percussion is real heavy. It almost sounds like there's this almost like a thick bass drum, and something we don't really like. We always joke about Isaac Brock and his vocals like in the background. A lot of when they use the drums, not necessarily the alternate percussion, I find like it's really way off in the distance. So it gives it this big. It gives it a real full
and there was
sound.
I think this was the one where there was some sound in it where I couldn't tell if it was like some sort of synth or just some weird bass sound where it really struck me listening to it in headphones the other day. Gotcha. Where it gave me like a whole new appreciation for it, because I'm like, God, that is just, and that's where I think they talk about the way they do the percussion almost having like an industrial feel. I feel I hear that more in this song than any other one.
Any other? No, I think you're right there. Yeah, definitely very industrial. So, moving on to Cosmonauts, my friend.
Yeah.
So I guess this was supposed to be a song for the movie This Is 40. Judd Apatow asked her to do a song, and he wanted a track that would explore. Yeah, he wanted a track that would explore the idea of lifelong romantic relationship.
Well, I was gonna say, because this is really like a love song. I feel like. But one thing that I like about it is, and I know you can see why it's done because of the way the words flow together, but like cosmonauts, I believe, is a term that the Russians would call their astronauts. Like in the US, we call them astronauts, but they would call them cosmonauts. And I always like the fact that she used that term, but it wouldn't sound right if she said you and I would be like a couple of astronauts. It just has kind of a dickhead sound, but for some reason with that hard consonant at the beginning, it really flows better. But it's a really sweet song,
It is. No, it is good. It is good. Then we move on to 10, or actually I think it's track 11 maybe. For Her.
This is real dark. And this is where I think, you get the exploration of like the sexual assault and all this stuff. But it's a short song, but one thing I think is interesting about it is there is two very distinct parts to it. Like it kind of breaks in the middle and initially, I will be honest, this was probably the one where I said I would have scratched, but I can't, because I love what she does with her thick vocal harmonies at the end. It is like unbelievable, and I couldn't have the album without that.
Yeah, I love the transition. It's really good. But I think part of it is, and I think where that transition comes in is this is supposed to be it's told from a friend, her friend, for her. It's told a story about her friend who was worked for a film production company, and she was sexually assaulted, and also refers to I think Fiona's one of her experiences, perhaps. But dude, I mean, it's intense. The words where that transition comes in. Good morning.
Yeah,
you raped me in the same bed your daughter was born in.
Yeah.
Now that's not a. I don't even want to really get into details there, because that sounds pretty bad.
But it's still at the same time amazingly honest, and for somebody authentic. To put that on a record, I mean, that's that takes some fucking guts, dude.
Yeah, definitely. Then we got a couple more tracks here. We have Drum Set, which I guess was she kind of wrote about. She had a fight with her band, her drummer, and one of her drummers.
But I think it was at the same time of getting out of relationship, it sounded like. So it was like these things coincided, which you can imagine you're in kind of probably a shitty mental place, and you take it out on the
people around you.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's the perfect storm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The what is it? The Andrea Gale.
Yeah, but I do like that she's like, what does she say? You took the drum set and like the rug it was laying. Like there's something about that bit of that extra line and the rug it was, because anyone who's been in a band, like every drummer has a fucking carpet that they bring over, and the drums go on a carpet just to dampen the sound as much as you can. Yeah. So I related to that.
Well, yeah, what she actually said, the drum set is gone, and the rug it was on is still here, screaming at me, which is great, man. Because it's like, hey, I'm gonna take the drum set, but I'm gonna leave this reminder, like, hey, it's here. So,
well, and you could have went the Lebowski route with that and peed on the rug, but she didn't.
This dude peed on. No,
and the drums came back, which I think everybody's glad for.
Yep, exactly. So, last track. On I go. On we go, Grim. On I go.
On I go. Now, this one is actually based on like some sort of a chant, which you can, is written about, but you can see or you can feel that in the way it, in the way it moves along. And for some reason, I really like the line, and now I only move to move. I don't know what is if you felt like before you were doing things just because you felt like you had to, and now it's like a conscious decision. Now I'm going to move when I want to move, or whatever it is. I like that line. Really do.
Well, I think they said that she sang it or wrote it following in 2012. She was arrested for hash possession, and that had something to do with it. So.
Well, that's interesting because that whole concept came up earlier, I think, in what song is it where she's like, Sebastian said, in Shamika, where she said, Sebastian Shamika, says I'm a good man in a storm, because of the way she handled like the arrest or getting pulled over or whatever. So that's funny that comes back up.
Yeah, that is cool. But I think this actually has, I picked it up. There was actually some kind of electric guitar in it, very minimal and in the background.
I got to listen to that again. No, I got to listen again.
Yeah, and it's kind of like distorted and scratchy at parts. It's not, it only comes in at certain areas and stuff, but that's something I thought I picked up on, which you don't hear a lot of that maybe in the album at all.
Oh yeah, I would. Yeah. No, not really at all.
So give that a listen.
Yeah.
Well, it's about that time, my friends.
Yeah.
It's about that time.
And now I can definitively say you're on the tee.
Am I? Oh yeah, I guess I am on the tee.
You're on the tee.
I think, Grim, in honor of this album, though, I don't think we should pull out our screwdrivers. I don't think we should pull out our razor blades.
Pull out our bolt cutters for this one. Yeah, we're pulling out the bolt cutters for this.
That's right. Well, I'm going to go, actually, with Heavy Balloon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I am.
Damn.
I am. And so, and the reason I do,
no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't love the lyrics. I spread like strawberries, I climb like peas and beans. Like I don't know. And I guess maybe that's some sort of visualization or something she had, during, while she was depressed, or maybe there's some sort of link or something there. But yeah, it just, to me, it kind of takes me out of the song for some reason. Cause I never think of, I don't know, when I'm listening to a song, hearing people talk about fruit and food and stuff like that is kind of strange to me, I guess.
Okay. Hey man, it's your festival. I mean, you scratch what you want to scratch, even if it's a really like amazing sounding song. I get it.
Yeah. Well,
that's fair.
Scratch.
Dude.
What's your scratch, bro?
I struggled with this one. Because I really do like the album as a whole. And for me, it was between two. It was between For Her and Drum Set. Okay. And as you may have remembered me saying a few minutes ago, I would have scratched For Her because it was almost like painful to listen to. But as I really listened to it more, and she goes into that second section, her vocals are so beautiful and haunting. Like I could not have the album without those harmonies she does at the end. I mean, I don't know how many layers it is, but it is really thick and it's just amazing. And so for that reason, I guess I would take out Drum Set. which I really like the lyrics, as I was saying on drum set, but I guess if I had to be without one, I could take that one other than the others.
Sure. And I think with the drum set, like what I kind of noticed, nothing really stood out to me. I thought the song had a good groove, but nothing really, I don't know, just really stood out. And she talks about some intense stuff, and this is a very heavy album where there's a part of me that's just like, you got in a fighting with one of your bandmates a little bit. It's almost like it doesn't match the heaviness of the rest of the album with the incident, I guess, that happened. So I can, from that perspective, I can't fault you. I can't fault you. So,
I can.
Well, I'm gonna let you go. You go ahead. You spread your strawberries. You climb like peas and beans. Okay.
I'm gonna go listen to that right now.
Yeah, you should. You should do that.
Fucking loud. But
real loud. Aside
from that, I think any of the listeners, if you haven't listened to this album, really take some time with it. It's a great piece of work for so many reasons. And
it took me a few listens, but once I got into it,
and I feel like this is going to be one of those albums that without a doubt stands the test of time and will always be regarded as very important for what it is, for when it was released. Like everything about it was just right on,
right on. It's on the money.
Yeah,
on the money.
So
that wraps up Fetch the Bolt Cutters by Fiona Apple. If you haven't listened to it, we suggest you listen to it. If you haven't liked or subscribed, we suggest you do that too. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your loved ones, tell anyone else, because we think they would like it. Right?
Yeah, I do.
Right. All right. See you guys. Have a good weekend. See you next week. Happy Hump Day. Peace out.
Scratch a Track is produced by the Dude Grimm. Additional music provided by More. That's ..more in the Tims, TIMNZ. Copyright 2020, The Dude and Grimm Show.